What's good, basketball heads? It's your boy Crush. So here goes Scottie Pippen blasting Charles Barkley for the failed 1990 Rockets run. Because, at one point, Scottie left the Bulls. He teamed up with Hakeem the Dream, Charles Barkley. They were all older, but they gave it a shot, So they all came together to form a super team, a failed super team. Basically a failed experiment, like what's going on right now in Phoenix. Similar situation. And Scottie also said, and I quote, he said Jordan told him, Charles Barkley, he's lazy. He have a bad work ethic. And that's crazy, right? Whenever you hear Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA on TNT, he's always talking about players not, working hard and grinding, etc. But then you hear his peers, players who played in his era or played with him, they're saying he's lazy or, he didn't work hard enough. But that's crazy for you to blame one person and said he's the reason why the team failed. This team didn't win a championship because of this one player. And it could be, granted, one person could make the difference. That could be the difference between winning and losing. So I can't say if he's right or wrong, but just to hear him say that, that's crazy. So this is what Scottie Pippen had to say. I'm going to be honest. My options weren't that great because of the way that the CBA was set up. I had Phoenix, but it was for less money. I think Philadelphia didn't want to go to play in a cold climate. I showed no interest. I definitely wanted to be in a warm climate. And I saw Houston as an opportunity for me to really play with two veteran guys and that we could make something happen real quick. And it was the lockout season, but it was definitely short-lived. In fact, Charles started out working out with me, and he was all dedicated and working out me and him. I took Grover down there, and he lasted about a month. He wanted to enjoy his nightlife, and our workouts was predicated on getting up in the early morning and training before practice. Essentially, he's saying Charles wanted to party, have fun. He's an NBA player, he's an athlete, so he wanted to go have fun, party it up, and if you want to be great, or you want to win, you have to make sacrifices. You know how that goes. You're going to have to make some sort of sacrifice. And he's saying Charles, at first, he started out, he was dedicated, and then he drifted, basically. But like I said again, it's crazy hearing this because you always hear Charles Barkley talking about the modern NBA player and saying, they have no work ethic, they don't do this, they don't do that. So to hear Scottie saying, oh, we weren't victorious because of Charles Barkley, basically. What we could have been if this guy really stayed dedicated. And like I said before, he said in the past, Michael Jordan told him Charles was lazy. After the Chicago Bulls, their dynasty disbanded in 98, Scottie joined the Rockets in a sign and trade deal. He signed a 5-year, $67.2 million contract. $67.2 million contract. And the move paired him with two NBA legends, Hakeem Olajuwon and Charles Barkley. And of course, they had aspirations and expectations. They were expected to win or at least compete for a championship. When you bring Charles Barkley with Hakeem and Scottie Pippen, that's a pretty formidable team. So they were expected to win, like Scottie's saying because of Charles Barkley, we failed basically. If he stayed dedicated, did what he needed to, wasn't focused on partying and having fun, he could have won a chip. And I could have won my 7th chip. So I could have won a chip without Michael Jordan to add to my legacy, which would also bolster his legacy because it's like, okay, he got 6 rings with MJ and he left and he won another one. That would have been a great look for Scottie, but he's saying Charles wasn't focused, wasn't dedicated. Essentially Charles was lazy about what he needed to do, the sacrifices he had to make. And if the Rockets, they finished the lockout shortened season with a 13-19 record, securing the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Even though they had the star power, they had the names, all the big names and star power, the team didn't gel, man. They just didn't. The chemistry wasn't there. And their playoff run ended abruptly. They didn't do much. Their playoff run ended in the first round. They lost 3-1 to the Lakers, and the rest is history. And here's Scottie now, talking about it and pointing the finger at Charles Barkley. He's the reason why we didn't win or we didn't advance or individually. Scottie, he had a pretty solid season. He averaged 14.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists, and 2 steals. Even though his numbers, that's a noticeable dip from his, his prime, his years in Chicago, but he was still a solid player. Charles Barkley, on the other hand, averaged 16 points per game, 12.3 rebounds, so he was still a monster on the board. 12.3 rebounds, which means this man was snatching the ball out the air. That's a lot of rebounds. 12, that's a lot of rebounds. He was doing his thing on the boards, but he was visibly slower and less effective. Obviously, by then, he's older. Your movement is not the same. As you age, you're gonna lose something. So his footsteps, didn't have the same foot speed. And I'm sure he was a little chunkier, so his defensive prowess wasn't the same compared to when he was in his prime. And let's be honest, Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, they were past their primes, You have a bunch of old players, even though they could still play. But that's not prime. That's not their prime peak. It's harder because you're going up against a lot of young bulls, younger players, and you got to perform. There's a multitude of reasons why the team failed or why it wasn't successful. But to blame one person and said he's the reason, that's crazy work. But that's what Scottie said, Charles Barkley is a major part of the reason why we didn't get it done. Or that's what he's implying, basically. Scottie and Barkley, they're not cool right now, They have animosity between each other. Because Barkley, Charles was disappointed over Scottie Pippen's departure and Pippen's dissatisfaction with Charles Barkley's work ethic. One guy is disappointed that he left. The other guy is disappointed he didn't work hard enough. He didn't put in the work that's necessary for them to win or for them to advance, deep in the playoffs. And they haven't been cool, man, but beyond all that, it was an older team. Scottie was past his prime. Barkley, Olajuwon, it was an older team. Or you could say Scottie was at the tail end of his prime, if you want to say that much, maybe not past his prime, but at the back end of his prime. But they were an older team, man. But as always, I'll holla. As always, we just talking basketball. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share. Holla at your boy.
It's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about the game. I'ma say it. It's all about the game.